Should you get back together with an ex? This just came up with someone in my community, and I wanted to kind of do a video about this. This particular gentleman there's an old boyfriend who had kind of, had cheated and done some things that weren't okay, and this person in my community broke up with him, and they've been apart for a while, but this ex has reappeared and is willing to move and suddenly willing to do a lot of things to be back with this person in my community, and has done some work on himself, blah, blah. But when they were discussing, the cheating and what had happened before, his ex was still not fully kind of owning everything, wasn't dismissing completely, and he was thinking back to the time when he had confronted his ex about thinking he was cheating, and the ex had been like, no, that's not going on, and there was a lot of gaslighting and minimizing and all kinds of stuff, which doesn't feel completely gone now. However, as with many of us, we're still maybe attracted to an ex, or we think, oh, maybe now they get it, or they're coming back and it feels so good. And maybe we're not always attracted to people, or don't always find someone we connected that much with, which, by the way, is fear-based and scarcity. So immediately that should be a red flag. But beyond that, I want to say this. There is anyone who tells you can never trust again, or yes you can, or whatever, they're full of crap. They don't know. I've been doing this almost 40 years. Well, it has been 40 years, and I'll tell you that there's no cookie cutter to this. However, one of the things I use that is very helpful, your gut instinct, we call it our gut, right? Or our instinct is often telling you, like in this case, I could tell that with this member of my community, he knew it wasn't a good idea to go back with this guy, but you could tell just from the way he sort of wrote something in our community. And yet, he was doubting himself, right? And I said to him this, and this is what I use with my clients, and this is just a tool you can use, and one of the ones I use, which is I picture my younger self. And your younger self, when you think your instinct or your gut, that is actually your little kid, okay? That is your inner little Abby, if you're me, okay? Tugging on your sleeve, going, I don't know about this. And you got to remember, when you were a kid, there was likely some things that went on that weren't cool, and you didn't have words for that, or maybe you did say something and you were told to be quiet, or you were told you were just wrong, that wasn't it. I grew up at a time when I would say how I felt, and I would get told, you don't feel that way. You're not sad. Stop with the tears. You're not sad. Things like that, right? Talk about a mind screw up. So we start to learn not to trust ourselves. That's what happens. We learn not to trust our experience. And you don't have to be in a home where there's abuse and trauma to have this. But if, you're in an adult relationship and you're not really clear, when you've been mistreated and you're thinking of going back and you're not sure, that is your little kid tugging on your sleeve. So I always say, if you were to tell this story to, let's say, your 6-year-old self, if you picture your 6-year-old self for a minute and you say, hey, I'm thinking of getting back together with so-and-so, what do you think? I am telling you, just listen, just get in a good place and listen. Your little kid will tell you right away, like, ugh, or no, thank you, or, oh, please don't, please don't. Or sometimes they might say, yeah, great idea. Oh my gosh, I really love that person. I think they've really changed. I think it's really great. Most of the time, they're going to say, nope, ick, please don't. And what happens when we go back with people, when we give up on ourselves in that way, when we're really not sure if we can trust them, when we probably can't, we are abandoning that sort of little kid. We're abandoning ourselves. And most importantly, we're sort of abandoning that previous self who saw the truth, who knew the truth, but was told it wasn't true. And now you're doing the same thing. You're repeating. Now you're doing what your parents or the adults around you did to you, you're now doing to you. And so that's what you want to stop. So try this exercise. Try to check in with your little kid and see what their response is. And you'll feel it right away. And use that as a guidepost and let me know.